Good morning. Happy Friday, April 4th, 2025. What's going on, LinkedIn Nation? Welcome to another episode of Let's Build AI Skills Weekly right now with Nico and George. Nico can't be with us today, so it's just me and you, George.
Awesome. I don't know why you mentioned that weekly for now thing, but how the heck you doing this morning, Chris?
I'm grateful, I must say. Just getting to represent, let's see, all right, this logo and
Yeah.
this logo every
Oh,
day right now. I could be in a worse position. I'll tell you that. Um,
right.
so feeling good. Listened to a couple of, I was listening to more of Scary Smart from Mogadot
Yeah.
this morning, and then I saw Nico share the 5 AI transformation things that are happening that everybody should care about. So it's
Yeah.
got me thinking big.
Thinking
Um,
big.
but we're gonna use our Sunday, Singularity Soothsayers episode to dig into that with Aaron Wiggers. Maybe make that into a call-in show of some sort.
There you go.
Uh, but uh, I have a path to get us back down to the basics and the skills that we try to focus on in this show. Had an interesting conversation with the brand identity team uh, from HubSpot
Yeah.
yesterday,
Yeah.
and you did some great AI settings episodes in Hub Heroes, like
Yeah.
in
On the
November,
podcast.
December
Yeah.
last year, right?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, that's how I try to understand what's going on. I don't always use the tools that I talk about and suggest because I
Right.
can see people using them. I can consume all these discussions about the things, and I'm able to kind of translate, the value of that for people. So of course, uh, and I should, um, give credit where credit is due. Nick Bellistri.
Okay.
I got to chat with him, and he set it up. So naturally, I don't remember the other person's name that was on with us, but she was awesome. And the whole idea is like, hey, you've been using the brand identity like beta for a
Yeah.
while, and we want to do feedback. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, this is gonna be the thing that actually gets me to start using it.
Uh,
I'm gonna fill it in, and here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to Claude and go into my, profoundly experienced project where foreshadowing, all of this stuff is already built out,
right.
right? And
Yeah.
I'm just gonna screenshot what HubSpot's asking for, and I'm gonna ask Claude to help me, fill in.
Yeah. As a true AI baller does. I mean, isn't that how we roll? I'm just saying.
Right. So naturally, time passes, and I don't get to that.
Uh,
Uh, but really open because I believe the feedback of why that happened will be helpful for this team. Um, and so I share that at the beginning of the conversation, and I said, "So I would love to just go through it with you right now, like what I was planning to do, so that
oh,
you can see the cloud project and everything that's coming from, and we can see how it gets filled in." And looks like we got Nico joining us. Uh, so
nice.
so we'll bring him in.
Good morning,
Love it.
boys.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, sir.
Sorry, I'm hungry.
Um,
No, you're fine.
so so we
So
so I was
you're
going
making
through
this
that.
process.
Yeah. So I'm
Um,
like, this is the mindset because I wanted to share this part because I I mean, it wouldn't be hard to call me a homer for HubSpot, right?
right. Right.
Especially for Content Hub.
Yeah.
And especially for all the tools that are in Content Hub that could just make everybody's lives so much easier when you get serious about content repurposing, right?
Without a doubt. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're not serious about content and content creation, I only got one thing to say. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And get on board. Like,
Yeah.
please. It's your
Yesterday.
last.
Come on.
Man.
It's so
Last
important to look
chance.
forward.
So what I was sharing, so how come a guy who is such a, believer and evangelist of this tool and this tool set and this whole part of the HubSpot platform not be using it yet,
Well,
right?
yeah.
And I said, there's a switching cost. All of this stuff is already built out in Claude projects.
Yeah.
And they asked, like, what could we do, like, to make it easy for you to switch? And I'm like, we don't, it's all like internal, right? Either internal for me or internal for our team. Like, until we get, you know, like 100% or not 100%, but, until HubSpot becomes a part of each process.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that if I do the stuff I'm doing in Claude in HubSpot instead, it will go that extra mile. Like
Yes.
if I do it there, right? Instead of getting the extra mile, like right now, it costs me an extra mile to go and decide to do it in HubSpot.
Yeah.
Because that's not the process. And we don't have a lot of the distribution, set up so that at the end, like I could go do content remixes all day long, but if I don't have landing pages, emails, social ads, all those things set up, it becomes very much a copy and paste activity.
Yeah.
That is similar to what I'm doing, in Claude and these other tools. So I want
to down where my brain is with what you've said so far.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. Because here's the thing. This idea of switching. What people need to understand when I see people, it's HubSpot getting us and others to adopt these AI tools, especially around content creation. You have to realize that there's real world fundamentals at play here. For Chris, Nico, I'll say both of them. Well, Nico's probably actually both. Nico has two best friends. Chris has a best friend. His best friend is called Claude, and he spends a lot of time with Claude, and he trusts Claude, and Claude knows him intimately because they've been friends for the last year and a half, 2 years. They've hung out at the park. They've had intimate conversations. They've sat down and they've drank coffee together in the early mornings as they're creating things together. And there's just a relationship that has been built. For me, that's my clone at this point. My clone is so dope, helping me write emails, helping me create articles, helping me do a new version of HubSpot updates that we're thinking about putting out to the world. Like all of these things that I can ask my clone to do, which by the way, my switch was from GPT to clone, right? Like I've chosen a new best friend, and I still have my second best friend that I go back to quite often, right? But HubSpot, they're basically asking Chris, can we be your new best friend? Ladies and gentlemen, that takes time. That takes trust. That takes you delivering. For years and years and years, HubSpot has talked about delation. Now's the moment to cash it in. If you don't delight the shit out of us, especially around AI content creation, you're not going to be our new best friend. All right, Chris, go ahead. Keep moving forward.
I mean, that's it. And I think the challenge of HubSpot is
You just killed George.
Yeah. And oh man, I was so ready to say something with great conviction.
Be careful. Be careful.
Your reaction.
HubSpot, right? At the same time, we love HubSpot, but like that's where my brain goes when I hear you telling this story.
Right. So what? Yeah. And the challenge of HubSpot is that to get, like, it's a full platform and there's lots of other people using the system. And if those people aren't as convicted, as trusting, as much, they don't have as much of a relationship, that impacts my relationship.
Yeah.
Right. Because now, right. And that's, I think, like, that's a hard, like when we talk about everybody needing to focus on like change management and mindset transformation, like it doesn't matter how awesome the tools are. Like if not everybody's aligned and getting on board. And as we were going through it, I did think of like, okay, if you had done this thing, like maybe I would have switched already. And that was like the upload of document. Like it's so easy to just create another project in Claude and pick which documents I want in there. And now all of a sudden I've got all of the things. And if you haven't, I'll pull it up here if you haven't seen the settings.
Before you pull anything up, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because I'm hoping Nick and team watch this. Like at this point right now, my question would be, can I create a folder inside of my HubSpot file manager? And can I hook my HubSpot AI to the folder so that it just naturally looks at the things that I upload into my folder in HubSpot as a database context for the thing that I'm trying to do with my content creation? I don't know if that even exists, but if we're not thinking in that direction to add massive amounts of context in an easy uploadable way to impact the output of the thing that, okay, Chris, go ahead and show whatever you just show whatever you want to show.
Well, this is where, and Nico, I promise I'll let you go after this because this is where you get to
his mind's starting to break.
School us.
I'm purposely like throwing bones out on the ground, like,
Yeah.
come on, get him going.
You get to school us on what's about to be possible because Dharmesh just alluded to it in his most recent post as well. And we've been talking about it as like this open source, like everything world that we're diving into. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, like AI settings in HubSpot, right? You go to data sources and, you know, I started building out HubSpot, growth specialist.
Yes,
right.
sir.
And this was just, I screenshotted this, put it into Claude and into the Profoundly Experience, Claude project, said, fill this out for me. Like, that's it. Right. And all of this information is from there. Right. Instead of me taking the documents that Claude is drawing from.
Yep.
And just importing them. So that was kind of an unlock for me that I could give them some piece of feedback. But then when they're asking about which system, like, do you work in? Like, how do we get you working in HubSpot? That's the wrong question. Like, I don't want to care about which system I have to pick to work in, right? Yeah. And like with ChatGPT, like I haven't, and maybe Nico can speak to this, like the integration with HubSpot that just came out. Like, is there an integration with Claude coming out where I could just plug in the projects? Like, don't build out this stuff if it's already built. And that's what the post I'm referring to from Dharmesh is talking about MCPs, right? And that's where we're talking about when everybody can build their own tooling that's related to whichever platform they want to use. It's like the platform I'm logging into today is my platform.
Can
like the one I built
for a second though? Because you said something real important right there. Just because you can doesn't mean they have. And what I'm trying to say here is, Chris, not everybody's like Nico, like me, like you. Not everybody is like people who have actually been working with this and building structure and system and context and cohesiveness and strategy. Like some people are still sitting here and like if they turn on HubSpot, it's like, oh my God, this is possible. We have to remember where we're at compared to where they are at, whoever they is, right? So like we got to be careful of how like I get you, I see you, heck, I am you, right? But my brain is like, hold up, how many don't even have personas in their portal? How many don't even know what life cycle stage means? How many aren't even creating content? How many have been running afraid from AI for the last 6 to 8 months? So like there is a really deep canyon of
and
us
wide
and them, deep and wide. deep. And anyway, if you know, you know. I'll shut up.
All right, Nico. So when you ask the question, when they ask the question, when any software provider is asking the question right now, like how do we get you to use our like product? Like what are they missing when they frame it like that?
I think it's just that sentence. It's moving away from how do we get you to do this, right? Like it sounds too much like, because it sounds like you're trying to force me. It sounds like it's a gimmick. It sounds like, oh my god, all right, it's another thing I got to try out. It sounds like effort. Now I don't want to do it, right? Because if you had to discover a way to get me to do it in the first place, how good is that thing that I'm about to try, right? So there should be such a thing as natural aggregation. What does that mean? What does it look like? It looks like, I don't know, advocating for yourself, right? Like, how do you try to get people, or like, how do you get people to want to try something? Try it for yourself, post about it for yourself, right? Pass it around to people that you know, ask them to test it, and then ask them, what their opinion is of it, and ask them to post it. Trials, alpha testing, beta testing. If you're building a good product, it sells itself, right? Advertising was a means of a crutch for companies that couldn't necessarily have the best product, I think, way back in the day. I'm not talking about today, though companies do use that mechanic today. But yeah, I think that to answer that question, if what you're offering and what you're doing is good enough, look, there are plenty of businesses out there, not that many partners. I think it's only like a handful of partners, maybe, ours included, that pretty much run off referral. They don't even have marketing departments. They don't have sales team. They just run off referral. If you want to figure out how to sell a product, you should go talk to one of those companies.
Yeah.
80%. You know how many companies, like, I don't know, like Databricks has to advertise, right? But Data Fountain doesn't. Okay. Microsoft, when was the last time that you saw a Windows advertisement? I can't even remember. Now it's the top platform and it's pre-installed everywhere, right? So that's a little bit different. But when was the last time you saw a Coke ad? Right. When was the last time you saw a Linux ad? One of the top operating platforms out there for development, especially for open source development, Linux. I've never seen a Linux ad ever in my entire life. Right.
You know what ad I've never seen? An NVIDIA video card ad.
Yep.
I'm just
saying, way back in the day. Way,
I'll
but
the
now,
ish out of them. I ain't never seen them on TV. They ain't never paid for a Super Bowl ad, and I don't see them in my feed in my browser either. I'm just saying, but I know who they are.
Yep.
Yeah, and when we're having these conversations, it's hard to gauge like whether they know. Like, there's obviously an initiative, like to get to this, right? So this is in private beta. This is HubSpot homepage. If you haven't seen it yet, this is what on the record, I said this was coming in September of last year at Inbound.
Go smash the beta button.
Chat interface for every user, and that's their experience. And like, if you haven't experienced this yet in GPT or any of the other tools that are available to you yet, like, this should not be like, if you have experienced those, this should not be a shocker. Like, that experience that we get by just chatting through our problems, our questions, our, whatever in the moment, and having those answers, those conversations just delivered back, right? With how excited do we get when the suggestion right after that is just like either like nails the exact question you were going to ask next, or drops like some brilliance that you hadn't thought of yet, and you're like, oh yeah, let's ask that question, right? And so when we're having these conversations about how do we get you to, it's the challenge, and I have empathy for the team, like all of the 200 whatever product teams that HubSpot has. It's like, are they thinking in the old world, like when they ask that, or are they actually building stuff that gets us to this page like faster,
Mhm.
right? And I know some of them are and some of them aren't, and that's where, like, when you understand the data model behind the scenes, there's still a disconnect between the content side of the platform and the CRM side of the platform. And like, those are the things where it's like there's still structural things that get in the way of, how they can achieve, some of these things. And that's where it's like, for the people already doing the things in the LLMs and knowing that everybody is just developing up. It's like the web, the web searchability that just came out in Claude. So
Mhm.
we knew it was coming someday. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna just stop using Claude. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna go try Perplexity and GPT to understand how powerful that is, but never for 1 second did I think that Claude's never gonna have like web
Right.
search,
Right.
right? And now that it does, man, it's so good. It is
Right.
so
It
good.
is. It's actually like, I mean, I won't use it over Perplexity because it's like a resource difference thing. But
Right.
if you are trying to do anything that requires real time, then yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't be using it.
Yeah. And that's where it's different. Like, I'm totally with you. Like, if it's a natural Google search like
Mhm.
process, I'm going to Perplexity.
Yeah.
But the ability now to ask Claude in conversation, hey, go look this thing up.
hmm
And now it's in context with the conversation. It's so good. It's so good.
Which even with Google, right, that's shifting over to AI mode soon. So if you didn't get that announcement in your inbox yet, Google is launching an AI mode. You can mess around with it now if you go to Google Labs, and it's pretty slick. But it's basically Perplexity. It's pretty much the exact same thing. Much more minimalistic interface. So of course that might have some attraction to it, but end story is like it's an evolution. You just gotta go with the flow, right? Fighting this current is not going to do you any good, especially if you're in our space. If you're in the information processing space, this is not going to do you any good. I just sat in a AI leadership webinar yesterday for 4 hours, and it was very interesting. I'll tell you this much: the number of people who were AI leaders in that meeting or in that webinar outside of myself were I think it was nearly 5,000 people in attendance. 6% of us, 6% of that group were actually like in some type of position in terms of like leading AI within the company.
Wow.
Out of 5,000 people.
Wow.
That's what the percentages look like.
See, I go back to Chris, that they and the us. And I'm not a dividing type person.
Yeah.
But we've been saying this, like I'm the guy who tries to bring us all together.
Yeah.
Usually, but I'm just saying we're entering a world where with AI and usage, there's a they and there's an us, and hopefully we can be there to help people get caught up to speed or at least enable them in some way. But listen, this is why the show used to be called something else, and this is why immediately when we started, we're like, it's time to wake up, it's time to get moving. You've got like. This is changing everything. There is not one thing that is going to be alive in the next 2 to 5 years that it will not have touched. Everything. The movies you watch, the medicines you take, the experiences you have, like this is going to be hidden or in plain sight. It will have been part of it.
It'll probably be plain sight, to be honest. Like, I think it's going to be extremely difficult to get away from this.
I'm just saying there will be the jokers who try to hide that they're using AI to get the thing done that they're doing.
Oh yeah,
So either
well, I saw this thing this morning on LinkedIn that, you know, I know a lot of people have been talking about the fact that, like, yeah, we're going to end up with garbage content and stuff, and it's totally true. I'm not going to get away from it or try to defend and say, like, no, it's not going to happen. But yeah, we're already at the point where there's like fully believable video rendered like TikTok style ads, right?
Yep.
Where it looks like somebody selling a product, but it isn't. Right. And that's just going to flood. It's going to flood YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, like all the places you use currently to watch videos and stuff. You won't know the difference between an ad or an AI ad already. And if not already, I guarantee you by June, you will not be able to tell the difference. It's over. This year, it's over. Audio, video, text, image. It's over this year.
Or it's just beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean in terms of being able to tell the difference. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know. No,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Sunday conversation, and anybody who wants to hear us, I don't know why, but we appreciate it. We're going to dig in deeper because there's a podcast that just came out. We'll share it in the comments of 5 things that you should care about. And I've got some takes on that podcast, Nico. So much of it is like, how do humans take advantage of this? And it's like, look, folks, if that's where your head's at, you figure out, okay, how do humans still get the margin? Like, you're gonna get passed up, and you're gonna invest some time and energy in things that are not going to work out for you.
I need those people to Google something today. If you're that human, Google what a steamroller is. That's what's going to happen. Just
everybody have an amazing weekend. 9:30 a.m. Central. Singularity Soothsayers with me, Nico, and Aaron Wiggers, and anybody else who wants to join us and go deeper on this stuff. We'll be live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And until next time, everybody have an awesome Friday.